What's good, y'all? It's Jalen, and we're back. I have some audio recordings that I'm gonna upload at some point, so be expecting those on the way. But for the time being, I wanted to do a face-to-face recording again. And this face-to-face recording is going to be about a topic that I discussed, not really I discussed, but the class discussed. It was part of the lecture, and it was on counseling other populations. And these other populations um, were blacks and Native Americans. And it's not really about that per se. It was about a statistic that we discussed. And that statistic was suicide. And, it's pretty, of course, this is very important because we're talking about a person reaching a point where they feel like their life doesn't really require, any more energy to be put into it, in a sense. You know what I mean? It's very serious. And with the statistics, something that, kind of puzzled me, and, I didn't really understand it until I really had to sort of think about it, was the populations that have the highest suicide rates within the US. So when it comes down to suicide rates, the highest suicide rate in the US is held by Native Americans, right? But right below Native Americans are white people. And when you look at black people, we have the lowest suicide rates in the United States, which is really puzzling because you would think that, us as black people, we would have, the higher suicide ratings, but we have the lowest in the US. And, vice versa, you would think that white people would have lower suicide rates, but they have higher ones. And even the statistics, they like to, like the statistics kind of try and categorize like blue collar and white collar. But, even with blue collar and white collar jobs, like there's people, working in places like, like there's plumbers out there, plumbers, carpenters that have like, private businesses, that do contracts and they're making bank. They're doing really well. And, that doesn't necessarily take away from the fact that you have the most, well-off race in America committing the highest suicide ratings. And I'm not saying that, as being judgmental. I'm saying that to, more so describe a situation within the US that doesn't necessarily make a whole lot of sense on the surface until you really do some real deep digging. Even though us blacks, we have the lowest suicide rates, we have more so the higher murder rates in the US, but then again, one could argue that, if we look at war, white people have higher murder rates when you look at like the war institution. But just when you look at, within the country, just civil day by day, I guess, us blacks have the higher murder rate. So what does that necessarily mean? Like, what do I believe that to mean? Like, even when you look at Native Americans, which occupy the highest status, the number one status when it comes to suicides, what does this all mean? For me, this means that there is something within the system that is broken, right? Take, for instance, I'm playing a video game, okay? And, I reach a point in the video game, we could do single player, we could do like multiplayer or something. Let's do single player. I'll reach a point in a single player game where like I'm max level, like on some Skyrim type crap. I'm max level, I got all the dragon shouts, you know, I'm on top of the world. Me being on top of the world, there is no way that I'm gonna have a dissatisfaction with me being on the top of the world. Yet, let's just say I am dissatisfied. Skyrim has it to where there is a fail-safe within the game for a person like me to not be dissatisfied. I can always start up a new game with a different build. I can always do like a new game plus, try something out that way. There's always something to mitigate that condition within the game of Skyrim, right? In real life, you don't get that because you don't get no start overs. When you have a dissatisfaction, you have to deal with that dissatisfaction, and you have to more so be at the whims of the system to give you a passageway out of that. But like within our current system, there is no passageway out of that. Like if the highest, like if the population that makes like the more so bigger bucks within the country is committing the most suicide, there is something wrong with the system. Now, with us black people, when it comes to the system being more so screwed up, we have ways of, blinding our eyes to it. Like there's many things within our community that can, divert us away from the whims of the world, negative and positive. We got drugs, of course, violence, all sorts of stuff, like all of these ecstasies within the community, all of these Dionysian type of energies that can more so take us away from the emptiness of the current life that society gives us. However, when it comes to white people, you guys don't really have that. At least the more so well-to-do off white people. Whenever y'all experience this emptiness, y'all don't really have any Dionysian like outlet to relieve yourselves. Y'all just have to sit with that emptiness. When like if you're on top of the world, you're just stuck being on top of the world. And you have to look around and say, okay, is there anything like in the system that I'm a part of that can make me feel less empty, even though I have all this crap? And there isn't. A good example I could give is like South Korea. You look at South Koreans like on the TV, and a lot of people can argue like how it actually is down there, but at least what we see on TV, we see like the stars, we see the celebrities, you know, it's all smiles and stuff, big media business, very much, it seems like a capitalist dream. And yet you have all of this depression and suicide that is going on here. You have all this mental illness that is going on here. I mean, like, a female celebrity in South Korea committed suicide very recently because it's just like, of course it was due to bullying, but then again, you would think that, what she has, fame and money, all of these things that are supposed to, make one happy and make one not care, you would think that would more so deviate her from wanting to kill herself. Yes, she killed herself, which is understandable, And, it's a shame too, because like one of the, like the very first Korean, like film or whatever. I want to say like the very first like Korean cinematography I ever seen, and the reason why I'm saying cinematography because it's the very first piece of like Korean media I've ever seen in my life. The very first thing I saw was like I think the movie is called like The Man with No Name. Like you know what I'm talking about. It's like the Korean dude, he's like ex military, ex special forces, and he like is trying to save this girl from like these drug dealers in South Korea. And she was in that movie. And now she's killed herself. So it's kind of like, damn, But like within our capitalist world, getting things doesn't make you any happier. Like it doesn't make you any happier. And that statistic is more so a proof of that fact. There's no reason why white people should have the highest suicide rating. Native Americans are understandable because there's a lot of trauma attached to the Native American population. And when it comes down to the frustration of black people, the frustration that would lead a white person to commit suicide has led to us black people killing each other. So that's why we're not really a part of that statistic like white people are. But still, like that frustration shouldn't even be evident within that population. And again, I'm not saying this as a critique of white people. I'm saying this as a critique of the system. If the people that are really good at a game are still getting rigged and they're getting their they're getting a foot stuffed up their back end by playing the game, there's probably something wrong with the game. There's probably not something wrong with the people that are playing it. And we really need to consider, what the hell is really going on. And of course, when it comes down to suicide statistics, again, these are men that are doing this. Why? Because women, even though they will go through with a lot of suicide attempts, men, of course, are the most successful. When a man commits suicide, he makes sure that it works. Like he makes sure that it transpires. If it has to be violent and messy, it doesn't matter. He's going to the other life. So, you have the most, I guess you can say, with how the modern political landscape sees things, you have the most well-off gender in the U.S., the most well-off race in the U.S., still experiencing emptiness. And I don't really know, well, I have my theories on how to fix it. I've made videos on that, but I don't really know what to do next. And I think what to do next requires a conversation, and it requires a conversation that is transparent and vulnerable and not based around what makes us comfortable. All of this conservative crap, like this conservative crap of, this race is doing this and that's why things are bad in this country. Like that's not gonna do anything. And also this whole liberal crap of, if we all come together, things will get better. That's not gonna do anything either because, we're humans. As humans, we have a tribal mindset. We have a mindset of we vibe with people that are like us. But within this world, we are for sure that even though we vibe with people that are like us, our differences make it to where there are people out there that are unlike us. So, we're not going to really vibe with them all that much. That's how humanity rocks. And also, we shouldn't really vibe with everybody anyway. I mean, do you really want to have equality with somebody that, just causes harm to people all the time or doesn't do anything? You know what I mean? Like, do you really want to have equality and like have to try and build with a person like that? No. So again, we really do need a truthful conversation. We need to find people to have these truthful conversations with, because these are going to be the people of the future that can give us solutions and hopefully evolution for our society outside of the trend that is going down currently. But anyways, this is Jalen signing out. Peace.